Today's station church is St. Peter's Basilica, right behind us. This church, as many people know, is the biggest church in the world. Today, we wanted to point out a few of our favorite things. Sorry if the video is kind of bad. I'm taking it this time, and I'm really bad.
And it's windy.
But what about this church? I wanted to point out that the Baldacchino, right, which is that little altar thing. The altar cover. I don't know how to describe it, but it's
The altar.
It's over the altar. The Baldacchino is really big, right? And it seems like it's big, but not really giant, you know?
Get up on safari.
No, like when you get up close to it, it's like, it seems really big, right? If you look up in the dome, there's like a little lantern in it. Like, I can actually show you, like that little thing. Not the whole dome, just the little part. It turns out the whole entire Baldacchino can fit inside that little lantern thing, and that's really cool. Because that doesn't really seem right.
Yeah.
What did you want to point out?
I wanted to point out that on the area of one of the side chapels, there are two lions, and they're like really realistic. And so if you put your hand like inside the mouth, you can actually feel like the roof of your mouth, and like
It has like the ridges.
Hyper realistic. It's super realistic.
Yeah. So the artist decided that he wanted to make this lion so realistic that even inside of its mouth was, which is the part that no one's gonna see. Even inside of its mouth is realistic.
That's the most favorite part.
Yeah, so we just have some videos to show you guys around, show you some pretty things in the church and stuff. I don't know if there's anything to add, so I'm just gonna leave this.
In another Lenten video, we also covered St. Peter's. So if you want to know
Yes,
more
a few weeks
info,
ago.
make sure to watch it.
Alright, bye guys.
One of the first things you'll notice in St. Peter's Basilica is the size. From this star to the back wall is over 200 yards. That's the length of 2 football fields. You'll see these stars going all the way up the main aisle of the church. Each one indicates a different church from around the world to show perspective, so you can see a church that you know and compare it to the size of St. Peter's. This one belongs to St. Patrick's in New York. That's New York written in Latin. They're really good at fooling you with the perspective. You'll see these statues lining the church. These are founders of religious orders. There's a row around the bottom. You'll notice, though, there's another row up top, but they look to be the exact same size, when in fact the ones on the bottom are 15 feet tall, the ones up top are 21 feet tall. Everyone's familiar with the Dome of St. Peter's, but there are actually 11 domes inside the church. One of those domes is over the Chapel of the Pieta, one of Michelangelo's greatest works, and the first thing you see when you walk into the church. Not many people realize it, but the Pieta is an actual chapel that can be used in St. Peter's Basilica. It's not used very often, only on special occasions, but it's one of about 28 chapels or altars inside the basilica. of these chapels are built over tombs of saints. This one is over the tomb of Saint Gregory the Great. You may recall that he is the one that established the order of the station churches that we're visiting. If you look closely above the altars in St. Peter's, you may be surprised to realize that these are not paintings, but rather mosaics. There are only a few paintings in the entire church. Pretty much everything you see is mosaic. This statue of St. Peter dates back to the original church that was built on this spot. Some say it goes all the way back to the 5th century, some argue that it's the 13th century. Either way, it's extremely old. And for all that time, people have been visiting this church and kissing the foot of Peter. That's why it is so worn down. On St. Peter's feast day, he gets all dressed up. Throughout Lent, we have seen many ciboriums over main altars in our churches. The one at St. Peter's they called the Baldacchino. It was designed by Bernini. It's made of bronze. It stands 91 feet tall, that's about 28 meters, or 8 stories. One of Amelia's favorite things is the fact that if you were to take Bernini's Baldacchino all the way to the tip top of the dome, into that tiny little space up there, which is called a lantern, it would fit. And something I think is really cool about the Baldacchino is that when Bernini was casting this, he threw his rosary in, so it's forever embedded in the Baldacchino. There's also a gecko. That's kind of weird. And here's one of Lily's favorite details: the ridges on the roof of the mouth of the lion at the monument to Innocent XI. And on station days, St. Peter's brings out the relics, hundreds of relics lining the main altar. And traditionally, on the 5th Sunday of Lent, which is today, just above the statue of St. Veronica, St. Peter's brings out a relic of Veronica's veil. It's only on display for 60 seconds a year.